pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening. Okay, what we're gonna do is, we're gonna jump right on to visitors. And,
Allison Rimmer.
Allison, yeah, I know Allison, but do you want her to talk, or were you gonna start off?
Sure, I'll talk just for a little bit. Wynn Grant, the chairs in the Opera House, the seats in the Opera House, I think maybe there was a time when it was thought that those chairs were gonna be refinished and replaced in there. And I think that decision, if you will, kind of got put on hold for a while, and the chairs ended up landing in Wynn Grant's trailer that he owns over there, and they've been there for 10 years, 11 years, something like that. And Wynn wants the chairs out of his trailer, so he can use it for other means. And then the whole question, came up as to, who owns the chairs, and apparently there has been some discussion in the past about the possible sale of those chairs. And I just thought, let's get this matter just clarified. Obviously we lease the Opera House to the to the Friends of the Virgins Opera House. When you look at their lease, there was no transfer of personal property. I just want to let you know that I don't want Wynn dropping those stairs off at the front of City Hall. That's one thing I really don't want to have happen. So I think that Wynn really wants rid of the chairs. I don't really want to have the city pay to store them, and so I think there does need to be some strategy on the chairs, because the space really needs to be flexible, and therefore those so-called fixed seats, I mean, they weren't fixed, they were in sections of 4 or 8 or whatever, but they didn't lend themselves to easy conversion. So anyway, the Friends of Virgins Opera House have an idea in which involves fundraising, and which would also clarify the ownership of those chairs.
Allison?
Yes, so we had always thought, the Opera House, me being part of it, the chairs are our headache to deal with, and believe me, it's a headache. They're in a million pieces. It's a huge ordeal to even put one together, because we keep saying, oh, we'll put them together and then we can sell them as a fundraiser, not even thinking about the city property. Be a fundraiser, a raffle, get them painted, an artistic sort of thing. But even putting one together is such a huge ordeal, it's sort of been a block. Jackson recently got a fellow at Job Corps saying, great, we can have all the kids do it and get it together, and then you can use the chairs, fundraising, raffle, that sort of thing. And then Mel brought up, wait a moment, is it really city property? What should we do about it? So we want to be open and honest with all that stuff. We do hope to use the chairs as something that will raise funds for the Friends of the Virgins Opera House. And the labor to do anything with them is really extensive, so we need having the Northland Job Corps kids do it would be really wonderful. Whatever we have to do to say, yes, these chairs are now given or donated or whatever to the Opera House, and they may do with it what they will, or whatever we need to do to clarify that.
Yeah, one of the things that I mentioned in an email, my only care is to make sure that the balcony seats, that we still have those. I mean, I know, obviously at Middlebury Town Hall, they have a balcony there, and they have fixed seats in the balcony. I mean, that's what they need to be. So that's really all that I care about, that sufficient number of good conditioned seats remain with the property, for the balcony.
They are 2 different types of chairs, so as the workers sort through them, they'd be able to say, this is the balcony chair, this is the other chair. I haven't seen them myself, but that is the word.
I'd ask for a motion to donate the chairs to the Friends of the Opera House.
I'll make that motion with the
except for-
condition that we have enough for the balcony. And can I also say that the funds are to be used toward the sprinkler system?
Yes, it's actually our hope.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
We have a motion and a second. open up for any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye.
Great, thank you.
The four of us were in favor, so there's nobody here to be against it, so be it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Allison.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
You too.
Okay. Okay, the warrants have started around, does anybody know if Ziggy is coming, or David?
I don't.
Okay, and Joe had to run off to a call, he might be back, said it may just take a minute. Okay, well, we've got some signatures on warrant, you got 4, is that gonna be enough to?
Sure, absolutely.
Okay. If nobody else comes, then we'll get those over to Joan. Any questions of Mel on the budget? You're doing a good job there, Bob.
Thank you.
And I'll make a motion, we approve the minutes with the
You beat,
correction that we add Lowell's name.
you beat me to it. For May 11th, 2010. We have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Lowell made a second, and open for the corrections you talked about, what was it? I didn't hear.
Lowell needs to be, no, Lowell
Oh,
wasn't
just-
listed as an
that's it, okay.
attendee.
Okay, that's the only correction, any other ones? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? They're passed. And, we'll move right around, move right down to, there's no public here tonight. Andy's gonna call us tomorrow and see if there's any hot ticket items. I don't know if you got to talk to him.
I did talk to him.
Okay. Old business, re-signing the certificate of no appeal pending.
Yeah, Joan, I'm hoping you grabbed that, but maybe you didn't come. There you go. There you go. I didn't copy that for the board, so as long as we have a.
We'll start it around, sign it. Excuse me, allergies.
And it is a grant list, it's actually grand list.
Grand list.
Does it say grant?
In the agenda says grant list.
There you go, sir. Well, right to you.
Sure, I got just a few items to report on. First off, at the last meeting, I mentioned to the board that Addison Housing Limited Partnership was planning or hoping to cut us a check for $40,000. Received a phone call last week sometime, and that check, although it hasn't arrived, it actually is gonna be $43,000. So there's a little extra money for the loan fund. A little bit about swimming pool operations. Just want to let you know that officially Roland Guyette has in essence changed his mind. Originally when the transition committee was meeting, Roland really at that time wanted to phase out, train some people, and we would replace him. And so obviously I put a ad together, and the deadline for applicants was May 17th. I did get a few responses, some just inquiring more about the position, but actually I did get some responses. And the plan is to take Roland up on his offer to stay one more year. He is spending some time with the Public Works crew. Actually, this year for cleaning out the pool, pumping out the pool was actually a team effort of our Public Works Department and Roland. So that's one of the things that we wanted to accomplish, was to get other people to know what Roland does in operating the pool. Obviously, Linda Hawley has agreed to continue on, in essence, as the scheduler, and all of the lifeguards and lessons people, all of those are all in place. So all employees at this point related to the pool are in place. Had swim team sign up on, I think it was the 19th, May 19th. We ran it a little bit differently than how it had been done in the past, I hear, because obviously I didn't have anything to do with it, but in the past, the swim team really felt that it really wasn't their responsibility to sign up for passes. And of course, you know, it's always been the rule that if you're on the swim team, you have to have a pass of some, either family pass or a single-person pass. And so Linda and I agreed to, in essence, volunteer our time, and we'll continue to volunteer our time for sign-up. So we signed up 70 kids on the swim team on the 19th of May. So collected all that money, and I think you'll see in your budget report, there's actually Fund 5 now. We had to eliminate we actually didn't eliminate, we pushed the watershed fund over to what we call Fund 9. So now we have made room, if you will, for the swimming pool. So, you know, it goes, you know, general fund, fire, recycling, sewer, swimming pool. And so when you see a budget report, you're only going to see activity because we suppress zeros, and because there is no current budget in the current year. I should have mentioned that back when we were on budget report. So if you just turn to over to Fund 5, you'll notice just a little bit of activity where you have seasons passes have already come in at around $4,000, and swim team fees, which is at $65 per swimmer, is $4,400. We actually have already paid some chemicals, but again, you're not seeing all of the line items in the budget, because if the budget is zero and we haven't spent any money, the zeros are suppressed. So you're just gonna start to see a little bit of activity. One of the things that's gonna be a little, not necessarily challenging, but a little different, and that's because I mentioned this early on about the swimming pool, is the fact that we operate on a fiscal year from July 1 to June 30. And the swimming pool gets emptied and starts to be put into operation in May. It opens on the 1st of June. We collect a lot of money in May and June, but the lion's share of the expenses occur in June, July, and August. So the money kind of flows a little bit funny, you know, because it's not totally lined up in our fiscal year to the season of the pool, and there isn't any way around that. Having said that, you know, one of the things that we will be able to do is, obviously, we can look and see what revenues we collected in this fiscal year, and we'll be able to look at expenses that occur in this fiscal year and next fiscal year, and revenues that occur in next fiscal year. And then when the pool closes, then you just have to look at those two periods of time together to determine whether or not the rates that you set were adequate. So you still will you will be able to have good information as it relates to rates. However, it's a little bit of a, you know, cross your fingers and hope that this all works, because if the rates are too low, it's too late. But anyway, we think that the rates are sufficient based on history. Next item, just wanted to report that yesterday Jackson Evans, with his executive director to the Virgins Partnership hat on, and Bill Benton and Tim Hodson and I traveled to Montpelier to meet with the downtown board, if you will. And Virgins, as many of you know, there was a time when the Virgins Partnership became inactive, and that's a violation of our downtown designation. And the staff were required to, in essence, assess all of the designated downtowns. And of course, at the time of our assessment, it was not in good shape, but obviously that's been resurrected. So the board, in essence, brought in the city of Winooski, the town of Brandon, and the city of Virgins. And we are in great shape. We actually got converted from a Category 1 to a Category 4 or 5. And 4 or 5 are the top categories, because the Virgins Partnership has reformed, it has part-time staff, it has members, it has committees. So unlike Winooski and Brandon, they both are required to report back to the downtown board in October. We don't have to. So we're in good shape in that regard. Train station project, the blueprints, if you will, hit my office today and other members of the committee. I'm not sure if we won't be meeting on Monday. Typically, we've been meeting every other Monday, and we obviously won't meet on Memorial Day, and I think the way it was left, I think once committee members had the plans, they could just communicate back to S2 Architecture, because that's gonna be going out to bid. I think Steve said, I think he said it was like June 23rd is when the documents are gonna be released about the bid. So we're still looking at a August, maybe September, move of the building.
So it's not from July to August, September?
Yeah, it's, you know, I think the July might have been a little ambitious, but anyway, it just takes a while to, you know, get all of the permits, get all the drawings put together, so, but at least, they always said it was gonna be moved before snow flies, Mike, so we just never
Say
knew
which
which
one.
particular season.
If we have a winter like we did last year, that could be,
That's why
that
it
could be
delayed.
February.
Just want to announce that grievance day, the listers met, I think, we could go Monday or Tuesday or something, and went over all of the changes in the grand list, and they have set grievance day for Tuesday, June 15th at 5 o'clock. We do have some appeals already. The grand list related, I just want to let you know that all of my discussion with you with the Green Mountain Power hydro plants, a couple things occurred. One is the legislature, you know, I went up and testified, and there was other communications from Sandy Miller, town manager of Milton, and the League of Cities and Towns, and I kept both Greg and Diane involved with this. And the Ways and Means Committee developed, acted on, approves of some language which got approved by the legislature that froze, I shouldn't say freeze, I'll just say freeze, froze assessments for hydro plants at a number that is no less than the number that was filed in 2009. So in essence, you know, all of the towns that have hydro plants are protected for 2 years. In the law, there's a provision whereby the tax department, the public service board, and representatives of municipalities, and I'm not sure what they mean by that, whether or not they mean the League of Cities and Towns, or whether or not they mean somebody like me, or Bill Hinman, who's the assessor in Milton, but there's a requirement that they organize a group of people involved with this issue and make a report to the Ways and Means Committee by January 15th, 2011. So at least, unlike this surprise that we got where you lose $2 million from your grand list, fortunately, this really worked by getting the legislature, getting them give this to their attention, and they actually acted on it and understood that we really can't live in that world of immediate $2 million drops in our grand list. So we'll see how that goes, but at least we've got a couple of years that we can sleep a little better. Small city license, just want to let you know that I signed that license today. I think the closing on that property, I think it's tomorrow or Thursday. So
It's tomorrow.
It's tomorrow, okay? So anyway, that part is all set. Small cities, the closing on their loan, Joan. I know that small city properties, the LeBon O'Brien property, obviously they own the property, but to obtain their financing, so their closing from a financing standpoint is tomorrow. And one of the things that was required was this license agreement, so that has been signed. It'll be recorded with the mortgage documents.
On that little note, somebody that has a child that goes to the daycare center smelled asbestos and reported it to authorities and had to go through the whole change. The guy has a very lucrative job ahead of himself if he can smell asbestos.
Because there's no smell.
There is no smell to asbestos, but anyways, so I put the brakes on. They did find out there was a few permits that were missing that should have been filed. There was a ever slight amount of possible tile that they're not even sure about. They're testing down in the basement, but other than that, Corey was in hopes to have that leveled and cleaned up before the parade on Memorial Day. he's
I think
still
that's still
hoping.
his
Yeah.
target.
Yeah, so I don't know if they'll be able to do it, but,
After speaking to him today, I don't think that's gonna happen.
yeah. I told him not to worry about it. I said, it is what it is, but as long as we see progress, that's the good thing. Thank you.
Just my last little minor item, one of the bills in the warrants was a small bill to Landworks, and I think that we've paid them more than one bill, but what I did with Landworks, obviously Landworks, when the council authorized the use of up to $3,000 from the Water Tower Fund for consult for them to help the planning commission in zoning amendments, and then we found out about this grant, and I can tell you that the competition is extremely tough. They kind of divvy the money up region by region. I don't know that it has to be done that way, but it is region by region, and I believe that in Addison County, if they do it mathematically, there's about, I'm gonna say $65,000 worth of requests from Addison County with only $15,000 available. So, we're in there, Middlebury's in there, a couple other towns are in there, so, I still feel that we put a good application together. Point I'm getting at is on Landworks, the way that these grants work is that even though the grant award isn't going to be made until, that decision isn't going to be made until the end of May, the date when expenses become eligible is retroactive to May 20. So I called up Landworks and said, give me a bill through May 19th and stop working for at least a week to see if we have that grant, because it makes a difference as to the scope of work that they have for us, whether or not they're working strictly out of that $3,000 of watershed money, or we get the state grant. So still have my fingers crossed though that we're gonna get that planning grant.
Good.
That's all I had, Mike.
Okay. We'll go to new business. Appointment to Development Review Board. Mel?
Yeah, I'm trying to think if, I think that I may have only mentioned that at the last meeting that Mark had resigned, or is that what that was? What's that? Sent everyone an email,
Yeah.
so anyway, we needed to get this on the agenda as an open appointments. Obviously, for a while, the planning commission was operating with 8 people. Remember when the council appointed Alexandra, Stacy, and Tyler, and then of course Neil resigned, which brought the board back to 7, which to us is really a full board, even though the law allows you to have up to 9. And now with Mark Hatler's resignation, we do indeed have a vacancy in the planning commission, and likewise in the development review board. Of course, Carrie was appointed to fill the remaining term of Neil Curtis. But Mark's resignation results in a vacancy there. So we are looking for either one person to sit on both boards, or two people, one to sit on each board.
Okay. Should we be putting an advertisement in the paper?
Yeah, we can do that,
I-
yeah.
I would
I think you just missed out, Mike, on the City Voice, on the timing
did.
just didn't
We did.
quite get there, but,
Speaking of which, did that arrive today?
yes, it did, and it's all bundled, and it got weighed, and we'll cut the check in the morning and get it. Once you get to 3 o'clock, they aren't gonna go anywhere.
Yeah, no.
So, but
No,
if
I
they're all bundled, and they'll go out in the mail, in the morning.
It was supposed to arrive tomorrow, but you said you'd like it earlier.
Yes,
And so,
yep,
they did.
yeah, looks good.
Judy made a contact, and he said he'd have it there today. Just following up. Okay. Anything more on Development Review Board? That covers it?
Yep.
Appointment to the Planning Commission. We covered that. Warrants to impound and destroy unlicensed dog. I'd ask for a motion.
I make said motion.
I have a second,
Second.
and Chris seconded it. Everybody, is there any discussion here? Everybody understand what this is all about? We've done it?
That's after 3 letters. and we ask them to please call us if they no longer have their dog or whatever. These people have not made contact with us,
How many you got, Joan, total?
Well, there's really 15 owners, if you will. There's like 8, there's probably 21 dogs on the list, but
Right.
if you do the math
If you
on,
do the owners.
there's 15 owners,
Somebody owns 2,
or 4.
4,
Yeah.
whatever the case may be. Okay, any other further discussion? All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Okay, number D, interest allocation policy.
Yeah, I do not have that prepared for you, Mike. I actually fired off an email to Teresa today. I just want to make sure that doing what I discussed with the board at the last meeting indeed follows generally accepted accounting principles. So I don't want you to make any change, and without our auditors, our professional accounting firm, agreeing, in essence, in writing, that what I'm proposing here is acceptable to her. So that'll just move from, it'll either move from new business to old business, or it'll never be seen again.
Okay. And item E, proposed city budget, fiscal year.
Yeah, I handed out the proposed budget here, and I'm gonna give you a real, from 20,000 feet. First off, let me just tell you that from the general fund, which obviously takes care of, administration, police, public works, voter appropriations, general appropriations, but obviously supported by the revenue stream. The revenue stream, when you look at it, you'll see that in the current budget, we had a little more than 1.5 million. It's 1.518 million in revenue, and my projection is 1.567. So that represents about a $50,000 increase in revenue, and it's not because of property taxes, it's because of all kinds of other types of revenues. The way that I calculated the property tax line is by strictly taking the grand list and multiplying it times our tax rate of about 60 cents, and that's what generates that line. So there's no property tax increase being proposed here. If you fast forward over to page 5, because what page, at the top of page 5, what that does is it combines all of the departments that I just listed: admin, police, public works, the voter appropriations and general appropriations. And then you subtract that from your revenue stream, and you get that line where you see 3 negative numbers. And what the negative numbers really represent is how much, if it's a negative number, that represents how much money you're going to need to take from fund balance, all right, putting together with your revenue stream to have a balanced budget. So like, for instance, if I go back to where it says last year budget, and that was fiscal year ending June 30, 2008, that was before my time, but at that time, you adopted a budget with the expectation of having a fund balance, I believe, of around $95,000. And you used $50,000, 500, the 500, it's a little bit of story behind that one, but call it 50,000. In essence, leaving $45,000, leaving that behind, as, I'll say a rainy day fund or to help things in the future. So that particular year, again, you ended the year with 95,000, used 50 of it to in essence, keep the tax rate from rising. The following year, where it says minus 25,000, at the time that you adopted, which is really the current budget, I believe that, Joan and I were estimating a year-end fund balance of somewhere between $73,000 and $85,000, something like that, and it ended up coming in at $82,000 or $83,000. So we used $25,000 of what ended up being $82,000 to $83,000. So you do the subtraction, and that shows that you have a little bit of cushion with your fund balance. I have not done a line-by-line projection on the current year, but I will tell you that, based on, what we've received at this point and expenses at this point, if let's say in the previous year, we had $83,000 and we used 25 of it, the other 58,000, I see that $58,000 increasing. And that $58,000, I think, will increase to possibly upwards to $90,000. I don't know that until, we pay the bills through the end of June and pay a few more bills that come in the early part of July, which are June expenses. The other key that I always tell you is there's another item that drives your fund balance, and that's tax collections. We are able to count any tax collections that occur in the first 60 days of the fiscal year, all right? So, when that delinquent list, and we could have done this report for you, but we're in the grace period, Joan, so, usually we would close out, May 15th and give you a list of the delinquents. But because we have a 15-day grace period and everything, we're not doing that. We're just letting, we put out a billing, let people know that there's a reminder there. We sent them a reminder. From a number standpoint, the list didn't seem long to me, Joan. I didn't know what the total was. It was 70 or 80 people, something like that. It wasn't like it was 150 accounts. It was not, all that different than in the past. We hope that the reminders and
the stack is less.
The less.
Most of it was sewer.
So, and the key, it's great that it's less, but the key is the first 60 days, how much activity we get in that 60 days. So the point is that, when you look at these budgets in the general fund, as long as our projected tax collections, and as long as there isn't any other surprises that come in between now and the end of the fiscal year, it's my proposed budget here that we can keep that tax rate stable at 60.03, I think the number is, or 60.3 cents. Relative to fire, we try to keep that stable. The one item I would like you to focus on deals with setting money aside. You'll note in my budget, I do not propose to put any money aside in a fire truck replacement fund. I think that I'm not suggesting that we stop putting money in that fund forever, but, we do have a pretty high debt load, and maybe in a few years, we might need to be in a little better position to put money in that. I'm trying to keep the contributions from the other towns, of which actually is one of the attachments. I think the last page is I went ahead and did fire. I have to do this fire calculations to be able to fill out this budget, so that's some numbers as to how I got to the individual towns. Swimming pool budget is just as the board approved, it's really a seasonal budget, as I explained. Has a matching revenue stream of 46.3 to an expenditure of 46.3. The recycling fund is actually in a little bit of trouble. I think it ended the year about $4,000 in a hole, and so therefore I'm suggesting that the contributions of the towns go from a total of $60,000 to $66,000, and the anticipated expenses are around $62,000, and that $4,000 in extra revenue is what's going to dig us out of the hole from what really is our current fiscal year. Sewer department is a balanced budget at $610,000. Last fiscal year, we ended the sewer with, I think it was around $59,000. And in this budget here, we did put money aside in the current year in capital funds, sewer line replacement funds, biosolids fund. So the budget is really balanced, that the revenue stream and the expenses are in sync, and money's directed over into funds. And the $59,000 fund balance, I really don't see that growing you know, and that represents about 10% of what we bill. So that still has, you know, some degree of a cushion there. So I don't see any need to be looking at rates. The other,
We do on the sewer though, we still have a little bit longer, another 2-3 years of being able to spread on that land.
we're gonna be, yes, Mike, our permit, I know that we have at least one more year on that permit, if not two, but we do plan on emptying the digester. The backwash sludge, if you will, goes and settles out in the digester, and I never can remember whether or not it's 80,000 gallons or 80,000 gallons on each side. So there's either 80,000 gallons of sludge or 160,000 gallons, one or the other. And we expect that there's about 300,000 gallons of sludge in lagoon number 2. And so let's say if you're talking about a half a million gallons of sludge, the last time that we did that, it cost 14 cents a gallon. So you do the math at $70,000. There is plenty of money in the biosolids fund. And I think once we get rid of the sludge in the digester, get rid of the sludge in lagoon number 2, we actually will have a very good understanding of what it costs to remove sludge and land apply on that piece of property up there. And the real desire, Mike, as you know, is for the city to obtain that piece of land so that we have a site for land disposal. I wasn't here at the time, but some of you were when the city disposed of sludge using a dewatering method and then trucking it off to no man's land. And I can tell you, that's probably about 4 times the cost of doing it under a land application. So the point is, once we get this done, we'll have a much better idea as to what it really does cost and the frequency. And so we can, instead of just putting $50,000 out there and hoping that it's right, and it really shouldn't be too much or too little. I mean, it should be a calculated number. We should know when we're gonna clean out lagoons, and we should know roughly how much it's gonna cost, and so we can have that number in a budget that has an analysis, as opposed to just firing a number in the budget.
One of the things that we want to be thinking about that is in the background is to get our political stance properly positioned for the year 2013, what we try to do with whatever happened at Northland Job Corps. And I had a meeting from my other job with the Commissioner of Buildings and Historic Preservations at Fairbanks and the Arsenal. There's no money to do any with those buildings right now, but they were talking over some possible options. One of the ones that was mentioned to me is not totally desirable, but it would be getting somebody to step up with some funds to fund it. That would be their hurdle, not ours. But I told them that they were looking for some sort of a low-income type housing in one of the buildings, and I told them that the city might not look on that favorably. But there again, as I say, we're gonna have to figure out how we want to play our cards here to maybe end up with, we may have to lose a little ground to gain a little ground, so to speak. So that's food to think about. We're not there yet, but, okay, thank you.
The only other thing on budgets, there's a report, if you will, a proposal that Chief Merkel put together. And when you look at the police budget, if you just look at the bottom line compared to the other line, you know, there is, you know, I'll say a measurable increase there. And so I wanted to include this information that George had supplied. And I think one of the things that you'll find is that there's a lot of one-time purchases in there. So, you know, I'm not gonna guarantee you that in another year we'll have a police budget that's gonna be less than what is in front of you. But really, there's a lot of one-time purchases that would that, you know, will not recur, and therefore a lot of any of the capital purchases out there, you wouldn't see those again in a future budget.
Okay. I know that there's been a remarkable change in some of the income that we've seen in that area, not to get into any depth.
Yeah, that's reflected on the first page.
But, we'll talk more about that, during some budget sessions, because I kind of feel that maybe we don't, put a high number there, or any number at all there, to show whatever happens, happens, or base it on a previous year or percentage thereof.
Yeah.
I feel uncomfortable with planning on that, because then we get the title of the speed trap town and et cetera. So, we don't want that. We want them to do their job. And they're doing a good job at doing their job. Okay. Anything else? Any questions of Mel? No? I skipped over one item, in hopes that maybe, Joe would be back. Committee report. Lowell, anything, I know we're rapidly gonna have the, fishing derby.
Yeah, they're gonna have a pizza fundraiser Monday. They're gonna be selling pizza to raise money to go toward the fishing derby. By the sounds, they got all their purchases made, and things are coming together really well. They're way ahead of schedule, so
Talked to Michelle, and she was very happy.
they're very organized, that group.
Good.
Sure we nominate them again next year as well.
That won't take long. On long about July 1st, we'll have one of our first meetings, we will make some appointments, so. Anything else, sir?
Yes, we also met for the Basin Committee. We have decided to go with 2 surveys, one to put down at by the falls, for the boaters to come in, asking them just a couple brief questions on what brings them here, how many years have you been coming, what do you like, what kind of improvements, just that type questions. And then we want to also send one out to the citizens of Virgins, asking them what they think should be, the falls should be used for, the basin should be used for, what would they like to see down there, what would they not like to see down there. So Joe has come up with a little survey, and he's going to come up with another one for the visitors, which we hope to get out fairly soon.
We do have the Basin Bash coming up here fairly soon. Falls will be lit again this year through French Heritage Day. Just to give you a little bit of, couldn't cram everything into the city voice this time.
That's June 12th, right?
Yeah. And, when you think the dock's gonna be going in, sir?
Well, we're all about Memorial Day, Mike. As
Yep.
soon as,
No. Well, here's
as
what
soon as the
happened.
parade's over.
Here's what happened. Moonlit Lady came in on, was it Saturday
Oh,
night?
no kidding.
Yep,
Oh, no
she
kidding.
came in, and 2 Canadian boats came in. I went down and greeted them, being the first of the season, and had a nice chat with them.
Yeah.
And
Was that a big sailboat?
no,
Because there was a big sailboat that went by my house.
and stayed there,
Okay.
and then turned around and went back out later that night.
Okay.
But 2 motor vessels came up from Canada. Talked to them, and they're gonna try to get me a website that I can get some information on, because this is early to advertise, but we've set a date for July 12th for a band concert at Falls Park. I'm gonna need some help setting up. I'm gonna need to board the 2 tents, and I gotta figure out where I can come up with some chairs for the band to sit in, and may need a little help with some people getting it set up and torn down. But that's something new, and should be great. Usual band concert time, it'll be on, that's Monday night. They're gonna divert from up here going down there, so that's good. That's enough from right now. I'll go to some other stuff. Randy, what-
Attended the last Virgins Partnership meeting, which I'm still, I believe I'm the designated alderperson for that. And there was discussion about Marguerite Senecal, about her maybe, she's not gonna go forever at doing what she's doing with the Virgins Day and all that. So we try to brainstorm for how we fill that void if she decides to leave.
Well, I believe it's part of her job assignment, with the, chamber, that she has to do that. She has to do some stuff over in Bristol. No, not trying to.
Right.
But she is, yes.
It's part of her job, but
Yep.
she's at the age where she might want to retire.
No, she can't. We won't let her.
Well, you
Some
see,
people
we
we
have,
don't let.
we have to plan for this, Mike.
Don't be thinking of anything. You neither. You got a ways to go yet.
But we're just
Yep.
trying to do some advanced planning and
Oh, that's
that,
good.
Kevin Rooney and Scott Gaines have started a sort of an economic development piece that they're working on.
I got an email.
And I made a suggestion that they should inform you what they were working with.
Mhm.
And I think that's it.
No, I got an email. I haven't had a chance. I just came today. Scott wants to talk to me, like you involved too.
Absolutely.
Not sure if, I don't believe we have funds to go out and hire anybody to do anything, and I don't know where David was headed with his comment, as far as, Yes.
I don't think there was any funds involved in this. Kevin Rooney and
Okay.
him are working on this,
Good.
giving an assessment.
I just got the email late today and, had to go to PT and hadn't had a chance. I will attempt to get to him in between other appointments tomorrow or Thursday, so, oh, good. Miss Chris,
Oh, my farmer's market opens next week. So
Good.
Hopefully.
good,
There'll
good.
be Lots of vendors there, so.
Sounds like it's from what I could get, it sounds like there's a little bit more.
Yeah, there's energy there.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's good.
So Thursday night's is a better choice.
For some of the vendors,
Not so for others.
correct.
Okay. Hey, well,
I know.
we're not gonna keep everybody happy. It's gonna be what serves we're serving the public, whatever serves the public the best.
Right,
So we'll
exactly.
test the waters. Okay, great. Remind everybody that Memorial Day Parade is on Monday. Kickoff is at 11 o'clock down at the high school. Hoping the council will be out and about for the parade. Enjoy it. There will be a presentation of a key to the city to Petty Officer Cassandra Foote, who we were talking about earlier, received what's the title again?
She is the Sailor of the Year.
Sailor of the Year. The shore sailor of the
The Navy
year.
has two.
Yeah. You will see the City Voice in your mailboxes, hope by Friday, I would think, at the latest. Lots of information in there still. We're going to be starting the next cycle of getting things out, so anybody that wants to put any articles in or have anything in the City Voice, please email it to my wife, and she'll be back in touch with you. Lots happening between now and the next City Voice, of course, so I'll just mention those events as they come up at the council meetings. And I believe that's it. So, any other comments from anybody? If not, I'd ask for a motion to adjourn.
I will make said motion.
Lowell made a motion.
I'll second it.
Chris is gonna second it. And all those in favor?
Aye.
And I think that there's no one opposed. Okay, thank you.